Hey, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. It is the last Monday in September. Welcome to Talent Talk, you guys. I am Davina Clarity, and I'm going to welcome on our cohorts today. We got yo boy. Which one is it? Steve in the house.
Woo! Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Steve. And here by popular demand is Mr. Jurgen Robinson.
Hey, looking kind of incognito.
You are. Good morning, Jurgen.
Good morning.
Hey.
You know what? You were shocked to be on camera first, weren't you?
I surely was. I was like, why? Whoa. But you know what? It's all good. It is all good. Roll with it, right? You got a different background there, Jurgen.
I do. Coming to you from sunny Las Vegas. So took a trip down with the family that we weren't anticipating it, but kind of one of those last minute things. Since we have a bunch of remote learning going on, we thought we would test the limits of remote learning and try to do a virtual life from Las Vegas.
Well, you know what? You are coming in loud and clear, and I am totally jealous right now because it's like, what, 90 something degrees?
Oh, I think it's Donna, what is it going to be, like 100 something today? Dry heat. Oh yeah, it's we'll get down in front of Allegiant Stadium and do a little dance in front of the Raiders' new home.
High 90s.
I guess it's the high 90s today. And we decided to do something a little bit different. Haven't done it before, but decided to have some fun with the family. Fun. Isn't that a subjective word? And we drove down, and we're going to drive back, and decided to tackle that drive down in a single thing. So we left at midnight and got here at 4:30 yesterday. And just that's a lot more exhausting than I thought it was going to be.
That is a very long drive. So you survived, literally.
Yeah, I didn't see monkeys jumping on the hood or anything. It was a good, clean, energetic trip somehow. So
glad you made it there safely. And wow, that's awesome. So we are today, Steve. What do we have on the docket for today?
Today we got something exciting. We've got we're going to be talking about septic tanks, and we've got one of the experts in the field on septic tanks, just kind of filling us in and answering all those questions that pop up. Like when should I clean it?
Well, it's even different than that a little bit, right? Because when we think about septic all the time, we're always thinking about how to take care of a septic, but right now with the market the way it is, we got kind of a unique take, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to rewind it back before you even get the septic flushing. We're talking about actually designing of septic systems and installation of septic systems. So this is actually this is the fundamental foundation that we're going to be talking about. And we have an expert with us. We do have a trivia question.
We do. So right before we jump in and we introduce our guest, we always put a trivia question out. So trivia question for today relating to our guest is, most septic tanks should be pumped how often? Is it A, 3 to 5 years, B, 10 to 15 years, C, 20 to 25 years, or only when you need to move, or only when you sell? Drop your answer in the comment section, and we'll answer it at the end of the show.
Go ahead, G.
I was going to say, almost as importantly, I mean, how often should you pump up your septic tank, right? Hey, you're doing awesome. Good job.
Come on, septic tank, go.
Every day, every day we need positive affirmations.
I guarantee you when that septic tank doesn't flush, you are saying that too. One more flush.
I hate to say that we grew up on a septic tank. I don't even think because I jumped on the beginning cast late. We had a septic tank when we were growing up, and it didn't always work so well. And when it backed up, it was terrible because it would back up all through the house. So all of a sudden, there would be stuff in the bathtub that did not belong in the bathtub.
That's
terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And we had one patch of grass that was super, super strong. I mean, it was the best grass you ever saw.
I grew up in the city, and I hadn't even heard of a septic tank before until I moved to Washington.
Same.
And I was like, oh, what tank? Septic? Isn't that something that's toxic? Like, so there was a very big unfamiliarity and a fear for me of septic tanks until I got to know them a little better. So
until I got to know them a little better, we became friends.
Right.
All right. David, you have an intro, don't you?
Yeah, so we're like talking septic and stuff, and I know Adam's in the back saying, "Okay, guys, that's enough. Just get me on the show."
It's my time.
Right? What are you guys doing? So anyway, but do want to introduce our guest today, and we're really honored to have him on. So he is with a family-owned business called Jim Hunter and Associates. They do septic designing and installation. Been in the community local for over 40 years. So we were like little kids running around with snotty noses when this company actually started here locally in our Olympia area. And Adam is offspring of the owner. And so this is a family-owned business. He is in it. He is the actual septic. He actually is one of the designers and technicians here, and he has an amazing background as well. And so we want to welcome this family man, this businessman, this septic design of Adam Hunter with Jim Hunter and Associates.
Wow, that was an amazing intro. Thanks, Davina.
Oh, well, you're amazing, Adam. So our guests are amazing, and they deserve nothing but the most amazing intros. Anyway, now thanks for joining us on this Monday, and so we've got some questions for you, and I think one of the very first ones, like I would have asked moving to Washington, is what is a septic system?
Great question, and one that's often misunderstood. Basically, you've got water that goes into the house, and you got to have that water go somewhere. So when you flush your toilets, you drain your tubs, you do your laundry, run your dishwasher, water's got to go somewhere. Typically, it's going out into a septic tank, and from there, runs into any number of disposal components. But it basically runs out into the ground, ultimately. Depending on how much soil you have, that depends on the type of system that you'll be able to get out there.
Okay.
Nice. Real quick. So that's what a septic system does. What does a septic designer do, and how did you get into doing septic design, other than just the family connection itself?
Yeah. So a septic designer primarily anymore is dealing with the county about 98% of our time. So it's about getting permits issued, getting new systems put in the ground, dealing with old systems, and figuring out the type of system that the soil and the site will support. Ultimately, my background's engineering, and I got into doing the septic design business, primarily obviously through the family connection, but spent about 11 years in industry doing mechanical engineering, and from there decided to get back closer to family, start working with my dad to be able to help him to introduce some new technology and kind of, I don't know, bring our office into maybe it was only the 20th century I was bringing it into, but a more modern century. So
yeah, nice.
So Adam, in talking about septic systems, I mean, what's the most common problems that you encounter in working with septic systems?
Well, the most common issue is a septic tank failure, or what people perceive as a failure. So Jurgen was mentioning how they had issues with bathtubs full of things that not generally supposed to be filled with. A lot of times, honestly, you have issues right at the septic tank where stuff is supposed to go into the septic tank. You get blockages. That's the most common issue. And it's really a simple thing to deal with and fix. And then you have issues with septic systems failing where the drain field out in the soil has actually reached capacity and it can't take any more water. And when that happens, that's especially where we get involved. Another common issue on the real estate side is actually mismatches between number of bedrooms. So you'll be listing a house, the owner tells you it's a 4-bedroom house, and it's only on a 3-bedroom septic. And so that can be a common issue that we run into in our office on a weekly basis, really. And so it's about how do you get that system upgraded? What are the options? Because that can have a real impact on the value of a house when you go and list it and sell it.
That is very true. And I'm glad you made that point because it is very true. If you are on a 2-bedroom septic and you have a 3-bedroom house, we can only list it as a 2-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very, very true. So, we're talking about, some of the problems that you encounter and even rolling back to that. So if we're looking to, find out a little bit more about septic systems, there's not just one. And so we're talking about on-site sewage.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a sewer that goes to the public water main, we're actually keeping our sewage on the property and it gets drained through normal means, and then it gets pumped by a pumper that comes out and pumps out the tank. So that's what we're talking about. Now, there's not just one type of septic system. There's multiple types. Can you talk about what they are and what the most common type is?
Yeah, sure. So for years and years and years, the most common type was just a gravity septic system. And all that means is there's no pumps, there's nothing special about it. You flow via gravity from the house into a septic tank. That septic tank basically functions to float off anything that floats and anything solid sinks, and then you get more clear water flowing out into a drain field. The drain field is the disposal component. Basically, that's, it could be gravity trenches in the ground where you basically have your pipe running from the septic tank out into trenches in the ground. And what those do, gravity just pulls the water out into the drain field. So as you use water in the house, a gallon of water goes into the septic tank and a gallon of water flows out into the drain field. That would have been the most common up until probably the early 90s. At that point, regulations changed, and now you've got a lot of pump systems, especially Thurston County. They make it challenging to do gravity systems, although not impossible. We still do a few gravity systems a year here in Thurston County. So pump systems right now would be the most common. And then if you're out dealing with the points like Johnson Point, Boston Harbor, Cooper Point, Steamboat Island, those areas, you're going to have many, many more above ground systems. You'll see a lot of Glendons, a lot of mounds, and there are some new ones that are coming online called an Oscar system that you will typically see out in those areas where you've got very shallow soils above clay. You'll see those above ground systems. So.
Okay. Adam, we're hearing you in and out a little bit more out than in.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, during a part in there. There you go. Yeah, and through there, you're mentioning. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So, just if you guys can't hear me, just wave your hands. How about that?
Okay.
We'll wave our hands in the air.
Yeah, just like you don't care. So the all that to summarize, most common in Thurston County is going to be pressurized systems, unless you're out on the points or certain other parts of the county where you're going to be in above ground, Oscar mounds, Glendons, those types of things. So, but older systems, anything pre early 90s, be a gravity system. Very simple, easy to maintain, easy to operate.
Awesome. With the design, everything else, with right now the market the way it is, vacant land and being able to build your home is certainly a good option. when looking at land, is there anything you're kind of looking for? Like, should people look for anything when they're looking for land to be able to build on that would accommodate a septic? And then one build on question to a previous, which was about the bedrooms. How do you qualify bedrooms on a septic? What does that actually mean?
Good question. So in Thurston County, the most important thing to look at when you're looking at raw ground is not actually going to be septic related, although it is connected slightly. And that's the critical areas that you have. That'd be wetlands, gophers, white oaks. There's a bunch of different things that the county looks at. And those are the things that oftentimes are going to constrain your septic, constrain your home site, more so even than the septic. Now, Davina and I were working on a site where, soils are actually the major challenge on that site. But if you've got a site that's got a ton of wetlands that are mapped by the county, odds are you're going to have pretty crummy soils because the soils hold a ton of water. And those soils are really what's going to drive the septic system cost up. You can actually look at the soil mapping on the county's website. It's not usually 100% accurate, but it can actually give you an idea what you're looking at in terms of type of systems, that type of thing. Oftentimes, if you've had a lot that's been logged recently, they kind of disturb a lot of the soil when they do that logging. And so you want to look for areas that are undisturbed on that property to be able to put a septic into it. And then to answer your other question, the bedroom count is determined by two things. The bedroom count is determined by your septic tank size. So there are certain minimum sizes you have to meet. But generally, if you're looking at anything under a four bedroom or under, you're going to be 1,000-gallon septic tank, 1,000-gallon 2-compartment septic tank. And then the amount of drain field that's installed, that's leach field, that's where everything goes out into the soil, is what also determines the septic. And that tends to be the more common issue when you're looking at bedroom count. There weren't enough linear feet of trench or enough square feet of Glendon or whatever it might have been in terms of the drain field type to be able to accommodate a larger system. We can, though, Jurgen, go in and actually reclassify some of those old systems or classify them, period. So if an old system, a gravity system, doesn't have any records on it, and we think it was installed before 1979, we can go in and actually do, it's called a certified site plan, but it's basically an after-the-fact design, saying based on those old standards, how many bedrooms would that have qualified for? So if you're looking at doing, let's say you've got a mobile home on a piece of property, and that mobile home was a 2-bedroom. Somebody wants to rip that out and put in a 3-bedroom single-family residence. The county is going to tell them they can't do that without proving what that septic system can handle. And that's where we come in. We'll actually locate the drain field, dig up a portion of it, see how it was constructed, and see if we can actually make that work for a 3-bedroom without making any changes to it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much fun that sounds like.
Oh, yeah. It's a never a dull moment. It's every boy's dream.
So, Adam, in dealing with septics and having to deal with some of the older ones or even new ones, what are some of the strangest requests that you've ever received in regards to septic design?
Well, this one may not sound that strange, but to me it just doesn't make any sense, is getting calls to try and add what's called pre-treatment or treatment units to old septics, not because they're not working, but because people think that more technology is going to be better for them. And so I can't tell you how many times we end up having to kind of talk people off the ledge, so they don't go throw $10,000 worth of treatment units into an old gravity system that's working just fine. My general rule of thumb is, keep it simple. If we can, and generally the simpler the system, the better it's going to work for our clients long term. Easier it is to maintain, all of those types of things. So when I hear somebody say, can we just throw a treatment unit in there and we want to add some technology, that always freaks me out a little bit. And you try and figure out what their motivation is and go, all right, maybe it makes sense, but as a general rule, it's somebody that's just learning about it and figures, like with a cell phone, more technology is always better. So it must be the same with a septic.
I was thinking it didn't make it smell good or something.
Yeah, deodorize it. Yeah, it's
Right?
amazing.
Can we get the fragrance of roses and
I
everything?
know.
Yes, any you choose for sure.
Oh gosh. So just with that being said, like kind of like the misconceptions. I know for me, with not knowing, I know Steve mentioned he was kind of deer in the headlights in septic. Jurgen had some experiences growing up, so he is quite familiar with. Yeah. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about septic, or maybe what are some fears that people have that might not really be valid about septic systems?
Yeah. So one of the biggest misconceptions I've seen is that the assumption is if sewer is available, it's going to be cheaper and easier to hook up to sewer than it is to run septic. And in some ways, that might be true. But in general, if you have to convert from septic to sewer, it's going to cost you a lot more to hook up to a sewer than to even just put in if you had to, a couple of additional septics. And so that's one of those common misconceptions is, hey, if there's sewer within a few hundred feet of my house, I should just pay to hook up to sewer. Um, uh, Usually what we use as a rough estimate is $1,000 a running foot if you want to connect up to sewer. So if you got sewer 100 feet away, you're looking at probably roughly $100,000 bill to connect up to sewer. Doesn't mean that you won't be required to hook up to it, but in general, even if you have maintenance issues and you keep up with the system or even install another system at some point, you can install a lot of septic systems for $100,000. So in general, that's always going to make sense if you can make it work, and it's not some crazy extravagant system. So yeah, and then in general, these systems. I mean, if you put in a system, you're probably going to have these things last for, depending on abuse of the system, of course. You're going to have these things last for roughly anywhere from an old gravity system might be 50 years, and then you're kind of on borrowed time after that point. The most common issue that we have is on systems with a sand filter, actually, where we have to go in and rebuild a sand filter after 10, 15 years. The drain field itself is still fine, but a sand filter, which is basically filtration before the drain field, tends to have problems, and they used to undersize them back in the 90s and early 2000s. So those are a common point of failure if you're selling a house that's got a sand filter on it. Don't be surprised if that sand filter is not long for this world. They can be rebuilt. It costs money, but
Yeah, here's a question from Vina. What's the deal? Sounds like a Seinfeld. What's the deal with two-step septics? Home listed on sewer, but inspector says it's a two-step. This is actually a good question. Two-step septic. What does that mean?
So two-step is a little bit of a weird. So a common thing would be a step sewer system, where you actually have a pump, a septic tank, and a pump that are attached, connected within about 5 feet of the house, and then it actually pumps into the sewer system. Those are common where you actually have a pressurized sewer main, or the house is down below the sewer main, and so you actually have to pump up to it. Depending on what jurisdiction you're in, those can be either city-owned or property owner owned and maintained. So that'd be something important to take a look at, is who's actually responsible for that system. City of Olympia is actually no longer expanding their step sewer system because they're concerned with the maintenance and upkeep that they're having to do on those older step systems. So that actually works in favor of us and in favor of getting on-site septic for people because they aren't expanding that system. But it is a little bit of a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah, because you mentioned, and this is shocking, you mentioned like septic system life being around 50 years, potentially, and then maybe you're on borrowed time, which is amazing when I think about that being the 70s at this point.
Yeah.
Do you have a similar type of life expectancy on a step sewer as well?
No. So the most common issue you've got with a step sewer, because it's all pumping out into a treatment plant, right? So the treatment plant is handling all of the effluent, all of the waste. What you have issues with are the components in that system that'll fail. The pumps typically go bad, and so you're going to be replacing those pumps every 5 to 10 years. And then also there are floats and controllers in that system that tell the pump when it needs to fire. And so when those pumps go, those floats will go bad, they'll lose seals, and they won't work anymore. So those are common issues. And typically there's, when you have an inspection at time of sale, that system hasn't been inspected for quite a while. And so then there's going to be some repair work that's going to be necessary when you've got a step system. But it does not fail like a septic does, in that it's, as long as the pump is working, it's going to pump out into the treatment system, the sewer system, and then go out into the treatment plant.
Not back into the home.
No, it shouldn't.
Do a little reverse pump.
Yeah. Although if the pump fails, it is possible that you can still get backup into the house. So don't assume that because you're on sewer, you're not going to have some sort of backup issues.
Okay.
I had backup issues last night.
No.
So we've got a question from Christy. So can cleaning products damage your septic?
The short answer, like with many things, is it depends. But yes, in high quantities they can. It's something to keep an eye on. If you have a ton of cleaning going on, if you've got adult family homes, those types of things where you've got a lot of cleaning happening, especially some of the harsher, more industrial chemicals, it can be an issue. The most common problem, honestly, with things going into your septic, though, are if you've got a garbage disposal. You're basically creating a slurry of fats, oils, and greases that's going out into your septic tank, and it basically ends up in your drain field. And that's a recipe for killing and wiping out a drain field. Usually it takes some time. It's not like an instantaneous thing, but my recommendation is always, always, always remove a garbage disposal. Get that out of there. I know it's not as convenient, but it's a lot more convenient than a failed septic system. Even when people will always say, "Oh, we never use that," and that is almost never the case. So yeah, anyways. And then the other type of issue that we have is with harsh medications, basically. So especially cancer medications, a lot of those end up running through the system, your body, and end up out into the drain field. And what happens is those actually wipe out the biology of your drain field. So those kill off all the good bugs that are processing the effluent that works its way out there. And when that happens, it can cause premature failure. So that's something also to keep an eye on if you've got owners or people that are on heavy medications.
You talked about like some of the biologics of the septic system. What's your, I guess, maybe take your recommendation, like in the use of some of those like Rid-X or those stuff that you can pour down the septic tank to help keep it healthy, the bacteria?
Generally, the septic tank itself is a pretty resilient organism. You should not have to put a bunch of, people put all sorts of weird things in there. But generally, unless you've got it diagnosed by a pumping company saying, hey, you've got an issue with chemistry in your septic tank, it's highly acidic or it's highly basic, we should deal with that. And there are simple things that you can do without putting some of those more expensive products in. Now, there are products to deal with roots, and those I firmly believe in. Root-X is one. There are a bunch of others. But basically, if you've got some root clogging in your drain field, those can actually help over time to clean up that root blockage in the drain field if you've got time. If you're selling a house, most of the time those treatments are going to take much longer than the timing needed for the home sale.
Okay.
All right. I know we have more questions. I think I'm wondering if we should, because we're going to go on and on and on and on. I'm wondering if we should, we do have more questions, but why don't we get your information so that if there are more questions about septic, and you've got a huge knowledge, I mean, obviously you do the design, so you know what type of land, what type of septic, and figuring that out, and with the counties and the jurisdictions, but you also know how some questions that people have about maintenance. So if
Yeah.
you are a catch-all, how can we get people in contact with you to get more information out?
Well, we're still. I said we're trying to bring ourselves into the 20th century, and I wasn't joking. So email works, but honestly, the best way to get a hold of us is call the office. Our office phone number is 360-753-1226. Diane works here in the office, um, and she's really good at answering questions. And then we have myself and Jim are the licensed septic designers, and we are able to handle pretty much all the more complex questions you might have. And my recommendation for everyone, that could be realtors, that could be anyone, homeowners. If you've got people with questions as they're getting ready to sell, have them call our office. We're always happy to try and help people, work through those issues. If it turns into jobs for us, great. But generally, if we can help people understand what's going on and work through some of the challenges that you experience with the county, that's where we tend to specialize. So feel free, call. We can always give you email addresses and stuff like that too. But the best way to get us is to call, just because we tend to be out and about a lot of the day. So not in the office very often.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we don't want to miss the question. So there was a last question. We can have Linda had a question. I had problems with my septic system backing up 2 years ago. And since we had to dig it up, I had to upgrade it so I would not have to dig again. Had those round caps and filters installed. Do we ever have to replace or clean the filter?
That's a really good question. The filter, actually, I would recommend you take a look at it, wash it out once a year. But all you have to do, it shouldn't have to be replaced unless it fails for some reason, but that would be uncommon. That filter will have a handle on it. You can pull the filter out and just hose it off back into the septic tank and put the filter back in. It's very simple in terms of cleaning. Most of the time, those filters will be good for the 3 to 5. Oh, I just gave it away. The 3 to 5 years that you typically wait to have that system pumped. And so then when your pumper's looking at that system, they will actually pull the filter. They'll hose it off. They'll clean things out. And so typically you'd be fine to wait the 3 to 5. If you have issues with it plugging and blocking up, you can always pull that filter and just hose it back into the septic tank without a problem.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. So real quick on, I'm sorry. I'm just dominating now. Let me.
Yeah. And the question, I guess, was, and this is probably a good wrap-up question, and then get on since we're at 8:50. But Linda was wondering if on heart meds, and this kind of builds on the question that, or the answer that you'd started about things that go into your septic. If on heart meds, do you add a chemical? So heart medication, does that typically impact what's going on in your septic?
They can, and that would be, again, it'd be on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the type of medication, and the strength of the dose is oftentimes a bigger issue if you've got, because you'll have a lot of it that'll end up out in the septic if they're pretty heavy doses. But that would be something I would encourage you. There are tests that can be run. You can have a pumping company that you want to find a pumping company you can trust. But pumping companies can absolutely take a look, and even just by pulling the lid, they can tell you, hey, these are the types of issues you got in your septic tank, because they're used to looking at them and know exactly what it should look like and how it should work.
Yeah. You had mentioned one thing, and then Steve, probably turn it over to you to wrap. But on some of these older septics, because I'm thinking about, we'll have somebody on that probably does septic pumping along the way, and we'll have some people that will talk about the care and maintenance of septics themselves. But really specific to what you do, you're doing the design. One of the other areas where I can see really reaching out to you is there are a lot of septics within the counties, the local counties here, that don't have a septic design already on file with either the county or it's been sponsored. What do you do if you don't have a good sketch or a good design for the septic they have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can actually have that septic system located Now, there are two parts to that question. One is, what's the county going to actually have to have? And it depends on the age of the system. The county arbitrarily has said 1979. Before that, if you're before that, there's not necessarily anything required to be on file. If it's after 1979, then they need records on file. And so we can locate drain fields, we can figure out where they're at, map them out, and actually create a record drawing for that system. If it's before 1979, there's nothing that we can actually turn into the county, but it can still be a good thing for the homeowner to have. If it's after 1979, that's when we actually have to submit that to the county to get a clean time of transfer, so it's conforming, all of that fun stuff that you guys deal with on a daily basis. So there are things that can be done, absolutely. Typically, we'll partner with a service company to assist with the locate work, and then we'll do all the drawing work and submittals to the county.
I like how you call that fun.
Yeah, definitions shift over time, that's for sure.
And Steve?
Well, yeah, so Adam, we probably got tons of questions that we could just sit here and throw at you. But we got to wrap up, and just wanted to really thank you for coming on and sharing that information, dropping the knowledge on us. We will probably give you a call back and have you answer some more questions. But we've also got your information for Jim Hunter and Associates in the comment section. So if you have any questions for Adam or Jim Hunter and Associates, feel free to reach out to them. They're a great resource for all your septic design needs. So thank you, Adam, for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun, guys.
Thank you. We have a trivia question that needs to be answered too. And I think if people were listening, they actually got the answer, but you kind of went out in that. And I was like, no. So, Adam, did you want to stay on for the answer of that, or did you need to jump?
I'm happy to stay on.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. So, I don't know. Well, Adam, did you want to answer it? Today's trivia question?
Happily, yeah. I believe it was A, every 3 to 5 years. Yes, that is correct. A, every 3 to 5 years. It's a little more complicated than that. Find a septic pumping company you can trust, and if you could go longer, you should. But you want to find someone that you can trust that can actually recommend that to you, and then put you on the calendar for 7 years or 8 years or 10 years, whatever it is. Sometimes you're not using a system very hard, and why would you throw extra money away with extra pumpings that aren't necessary? So find a pumping company you can trust. If you need referrals, we're always happy to give out names of people that we like to use, that we trust, so if you've got questions, please ask. But 3 to 5 years is the correct answer.
That is correct. You
Yay!
passed.
We got an answer with context.
Right? From an expert in the field.
Yeah. I think
What field? Septic field.
most people probably would have answered the D, like that's kind of when most people do it. It's just when they move, right?
Yeah.
Or if there's an issue, like things are backing up. Oh,
That's when we got it pumped.
Yeah,
When there was an issue, there really was an issue.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is you can actually have them schedule it, so you don't even have to remember, and they'll just call you to say, hey, we're scheduling you for a month out. Does that work? And all that type of stuff. So that's because, I mean, honestly, I can't even remember when I had my septic tank last pumped. It's probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 years ago. I got to get that scheduled.
Yeah, we just we didn't schedule our backups, so I mean they just kind of happened.
Yeah. Like it or not, here we go.
some backups are good and some are not.
That's right.
Yes.
All right.
Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Moving on.
You're welcome, guys.
All right.
Anytime.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
That was good information. Real good.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, there are a lot more questions. I'm sure that we could have gone on with septic, but Actually, Jim Hunter and Associates has been a really good resource.
Yeah, definitely. All right, you guys. So we've got, in wrapping up, we got some real estate news and updates we just wanted to fill you in on. So coming up this week, Tuesday, we have a career night, and that's going to be 5:30. If you are looking at getting your real estate license, register for our career night this Tuesday. You can go to our Facebook page or our office, any of the John L. Scott office pages of Lacey, DuPont, or Olympia. We also have for our brokers our business meeting coming up this Wednesday at 9 a.m. We have Forums Friday at 9 a.m. as well, and we are going to be talking about contingency addendum. So we see a lot of contingencies in this marketplace right now. So we're going to be going over the addendum and the contingency and how that works. Also, we have Facebook Friday, where we bring in a guest within the real estate industry to talk about news that you can use and what's going on in our marketplace right now. And then also on Friday, we have our market update with Jurgen and Davina, where they talk about our new listings coming on the market, open houses, and give you an update of what's going on in Thurston and Pierce County and surrounding areas. So lots of great stuff coming up for the week. Tune in. We got lots of good stuff for you.
Yeah, and I lied where I was. I have the Eiffel Tower right there. So, and FedEx driving by here.
I see that. And I can see the big wheel, like the big tip of the Ferris wheel right there on the.
Yes, I'm actually in France. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mona.
Yeah. Thank you, Mona. All right. Well, I guess it's 9 o'clock. It's time to wrap up. Let's get going and
wrap
week.
Who wants to take us home?
Let's have Jurgen take us home since he's so far away.
Right?
Well, that would be the last person you'd ever want to take home forever. But I'll do my best. All right. Well, thank you again.
Are you ding?
I got my finger on the dial, and I got a quick trigger finger. So
that was a quick wrap.
So thank you for showing up. Thank you for attending. Thank you for having conversation with us today. And we'll continue to do this on Mondays, bring you relevant real estate information. We'll do that with the market and community along the way through the week. We just appreciate you so much. Thank you for spending your time with us. We're going to end it with a big Be Bold, which is a declaration to ourselves to go out, do something that makes us uncomfortable and helps us grow in our life. So on 3, we'll do that, and then we'll see you next time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Be bold.
Be bold.
Bye.
Be bold.